First contact and deception. The grand observation deck of the Concordat Central Station spanned nearly a kilometer in length, its transparent alloy walls revealing the breathtaking panorama of stars, nebulae, and the occasional passing vessel. Admiral Philip Zoran stood perfectly still, his forearms clasped behind his back, violet eyes fixed on the distant starfield. The Vexari Admiral's scaled skin reflected the ambient light as he contemplated the report hovering in the holographic display before him. 17 cycles of observation, and they still surprise us, he murmured to his aide, Commander Priel. The humans are unpredictable, Admiral, Priel replied, her voice carrying the melodic tones characteristic of her Aquilan heritage. The Concordat Intelligence Division recommends continued observation before making contact. Admiral Zoran dismissed the hologram with a flick of his lower right hand. 800 years of peace among the 23 species of the Galactic Concordat, Commander. 800 years of careful expansion, diplomatic cultivation, and managed technological development. He turned to face his aide. And now we find a species that went from primitive combustion engines to rudimentary spaceflight in less than 2 centuries. Their development curve is certainly anomalous, Priel acknowledged. But is that reason enough to delay standard protocol? The Admiral moved toward the conference area where the Galactic Council awaited his assessment. It is when they've already developed weapons capable of destroying their entire planet several times over, despite having no external threats. Inside the council chamber, representatives from the Concordat's founding species had gathered. The Vexari, with their imposing reptilian frames. The Aquilan, humanoid but with iridescent skin that rippled with bioluminescence. The insectoid Threll, whose compound eyes missed nothing. The gaseous Vor, contained within their environmental suits. And the ghostly Eridani, whose translucent bodies seemed to phase in and out of visibility. High Counselor Verax, the eldest of the Eridani, spoke first. Admiral Zoran, what is your recommendation regarding the Earth situation? Zoran activated the central display, revealing images of Earth, its cities, conflicts, and technological achievements. The humans present a unique case. They've achieved in centuries what took most of us millennia. They're innovative, adaptable, and surprisingly resilient. They're also violent, territorial, and fractious, interrupted Counselor Crix of the Threll, mandibles clicking in agitation. Their history is an unbroken sequence of wars and conflicts. Yes, Zoran agreed, but observed their response to crisis. The display shifted to footage of natural disasters, showing humans rescuing others, rebuilding cities, adapting to challenges. They recover at remarkable rates. They learn from failure instead of avoiding it. Their social structures reform after collapse rather than disintegrating. High Counselor Verax's form shimmered as he considered this information. You believe they would make valuable additions to the Concordat. I believe they could be invaluable allies, or formidable enemies, Zoran replied carefully. But I do not recommend standard first contact protocols. The chamber fell silent. In 8 centuries, the Concordat had never deviated from its carefully crafted approach to integrating new species. Counselor Lyra of the Aquilan leaned forward, her skin flashing with patterns of concern. What do you propose instead, Admiral? A test, Zoran said simply. One that will reveal their true nature before we commit to full diplomatic engagement. 2 months later, on Earth, Dr. Elena Reyes peered through her telescope at the observatory in Chile's Atacama Desert. The astrophysicist had been tracking an anomaly in the outer solar system for the past week, a disturbance that defied explanation by known astronomical phenomena. Dr. Reyes, her assistant, called from across the room. You need to see this. Elena hurried over to the main terminal, where real-time data from various telescopes around the world had been consolidated. That's impossible, she whispered, staring at the readings. Check it again. I've run it 3 times, her assistant replied. There's a massive object decelerating near Jupiter's orbit, and it's changing course. Within hours, observatories worldwide confirmed the discovery. Within days, governments acknowledged it publicly. Within a week, the object had settled into Earth orbit, a vessel clearly of artificial design, its metallic surface catching sunlight as it circled the planet. The first transmission came exactly 1 Earth day after its arrival. "People of Earth," began the message, broadcast simultaneously on all communication frequencies in every major language. "We are representatives of the Galactic Concordat, a peaceful alliance of civilizations throughout this sector of the galaxy. We come with greetings and an invitation to join our community of worlds." In New York, United Nations Secretary-General Ebioy addressed an emergency session of the General Assembly. "This is, without question, the most significant moment in human history," he began, his deep voice steady despite the enormity of the situation. "How we respond will define our species for generations to come." Admiral Y. Chen of the Chinese Space Force studied the tactical displays showing the alien vessel. "Their technology is beyond anything we possess," he reported to the Multinational Security Council hastily assembled in the UN basement. "Their ship's energy signature alone suggests power generation capabilities at least 1,000 years beyond our most advanced theoretical models. Can we defend against them if necessary?" asked General Kamara of the Nigerian Armed Forces. Chen's expression remained impassive. "No, not remotely." The Secretary-General made the only decision possible. Earth would accept the invitation to meet. 3 days later, a delegation of 12 humans representing Earth's major regions, scientific disciplines, and cultural perspectives boarded a shuttle dispatched from the Concordat vessel. Dr. Elena Reyes was among them, along with diplomats, linguists, and military observers including Admiral Chen. The shuttle journey was brief but transformative, Earth becoming a blue marble behind them, the vastness of space suddenly real in a way no Earthbound human had experienced before. The Concordat vessel's interior was a marvel of engineering and aesthetics, curved organic architecture blending seamlessly with technology so advanced it appeared magical. Their hosts were equally astonishing, the first representatives of the Vexari and Aqualan that humanity had ever encountered. Admiral Zoran greeted the human delegation personally. "Welcome aboard the Concordat diplomatic vessel Harmony," he said, his translated voice warm and resonant. "You stand at the threshold of a new era for your species." The initial meetings progressed smoothly. The Concordat representatives shared information about their alliance, its history, member species, governance structures, and technological achievements. The humans listened, asked questions, and shared their own history, careful to balance honesty about Earth's conflicts with emphasis on human creativity, art, and scientific discovery. On the 3rd day, everything changed. While touring what had been described as the vessel's cultural exchange center, Dr. Reyes noticed inconsistencies in the displayed information about Earth. "This data is incorrect," she said, pointing to a chart showing human territorial conflicts. "These nations haven't been at war for decades." Councillor Crix, who had joined the delegation that day, clicked his mandibles dismissively. "Our records are quite thorough, Doctor." "They're wrong," Elena insisted, scrolling through additional displays. "And this population distribution data, it's outdated by at least 50 years. How is that possible if you've only recently discovered Earth?" Admiral Chen stepped closer, his eyes narrowing as he examined other displays. "These are military assessments of Earth's defense capabilities," he said quietly, "extremely detailed ones." Councillor Crix signaled to the Concordat guards. "I believe this tour has concluded. Please return to your assigned quarters while we prepare for tomorrow's discussions." That night, Dr. Rice couldn't sleep. Using tools she'd smuggled aboard, she accessed the vessel's information network through her quarters entertainment system, a vulnerability she'd identified during their first day aboard. What she discovered sent ice through her veins. The Concordat had been observing Earth for over 20 years. Their first contact was merely the culmination of a long-term assessment program. More disturbing, she found internal debates among Concordat leadership about whether humanity represented a threat to galactic stability that should be contained before developing further space travel capabilities. When she brought this information to the human delegation, their response was unified. They demanded an immediate meeting with Admiral Zoran. "You've been monitoring us without our knowledge or consent," Secretary General Ebioi stated once they were assembled in the Concordat's conference chamber. "You've debated whether to restrict our development or even take preventive action against us. This is not how equals treat one another." Admiral Zoran's expression remained calm, but his lower arms twitched slightly, a sign of discomfort in vexillary body language. "You must understand our position. The Concordat preserves peace among many worlds. Each new species introduced represents a potential risk to that stability. So you lie to them," Elena challenged. "You manipulate their perceptions. We exercise caution," Counselor Crix interjected. "Humanity's development pattern is unprecedented, rapidly advancing technology paired with persistent tribal conflicts. Your species mastered nuclear fission and immediately used it to destroy 2 of your own cities." The accusations continued, tension mounting until Admiral Chen spoke up. "Your concern isn't our past," he said calmly. "It's our potential. You're afraid of what we might become." A heavy silence followed, broken only when High Counselor Verax's spectral form appeared in the chamber. "Perhaps," the Eridani acknowledged, "we have mishandled this introduction, but our concerns remain valid. Humanity exhibits traits the Concordat has learned to approach with caution." "Then approach us honestly," Secretary General Ebioi replied. "If the Concordat truly values peace and cooperation, it must be built on truth, not deception." The meeting ended with an uneasy agreement to reset diplomatic relations, with full disclosure of the Concordat's prior observations of Earth. The human delegation would return home to consult with Earth's governments before proceeding further. But as their shuttle departed, a transmission was intercepted by Dr. Rice. Internal communications indicating that certain factions within the Concordat remained unconvinced that humanity could be safely integrated into the galactic community. 6 months later, the unthinkable happened. A small human research outpost on Mars ceased communications. When a rescue mission arrived, they found the facility destroyed, with evidence of advanced energy weapons fire. 300 researchers and support staff had been killed. Earth's response was immediate and unified. For the first time in human history, nations set aside their differences in the face of an extraterrestrial threat. Military spending quadrupled. Research into space propulsion, energy weapons, and defensive systems received unlimited funding. Scientists worldwide shared discoveries that had previously been kept as national secrets. What the Concordat failed to understand, what their centuries of careful diplomacy had never prepared them for, was humanity's response to existential threats. Where other species might retreat, consolidate, or seek protection, humans accelerate. They innovate. They transform. Within 2 years, humanity had achieved technological breakthroughs that the Concordat's projections suggested would take decades. Reverse engineering fragments of technology recovered from the Mars site, combined with humanity's unique approach to theoretical physics, yielded results that alarmed Concordat observers. Admiral Zoran, reviewing the latest intelligence from Earth, felt a sensation he hadn't experienced in centuries: genuine concern. "They're building warships," he reported to the High Council, "and not defensive platforms, deep space vessels with offensive capabilities." "Impossible," Counselor Crix dismissed. "Our models indicated they were at least 30 years from achieving practical faster-than-light travel." "The models were wrong," Zoran replied grimly, "and I fear we have made a grave miscalculation." 3 years to the day after the attack on Mars, sensors detected multiple ships emerging from hyperspace at the edge of the Concordat central system. The vessels were unmistakably of human design. Angular, functional, bristling with weapon emplacements. At their center was a flagship 3 kilometers in length, its hull bearing the united emblem of Earth. The message they broadcast was brief. "Galactic Concordat, we accept your invitation to join the galactic community. We come seeking truth, justice, and understanding. Choose which you will offer us. The human Concordat War had begun. Humanity's response and resolution. The Concordat Central Station's Emergency Council chamber had never been used in its 300-year existence. Designed as a secure location for leadership during crises that had never materialized in the Concordat's peaceful history, its pristine surfaces now reflected the agitated movements of counselors and military officials rushing to respond to the unprecedented situation. 27 vessels of unknown capabilities, reported the Concordat Defense Coordinator. A Vor named Sense, whose gaseous form swirled anxiously within its containment suit. They've taken position just beyond our defensive perimeter, but have made no hostile movements since their arrival. High Counselor Verax's translucent form seemed more solid than usual, a sign of stress among the Eridani. Open a communication channel. The main display activated, revealing the bridge of the human flagship. Admiral Wei Chen sat in the command chair, flanked by Dr. Elena Reyes and Secretary General Abioy. Behind them stood officers from various Earth nations, their unified presence a statement in itself. This is High Counselor Verax of the Galactic Concordat. Your unannounced arrival with military vessels is concerning. No more concerning than the unprovoked attack on our Mars research station, Admiral Chen replied evenly. We come representing a unified Earth, seeking answers and accountability. Verax's form flickered slightly. The Concordat officially denies any involvement in an attack on your outpost. Dr. Reyes stepped forward. We have evidence indicating otherwise. We've analyzed energy signatures from the weapons used. They match Concordat technology. Impossible, interjected Counselor Crix. The Concordat hasn't engaged in offensive military action in over 5 centuries. Then perhaps, suggested Secretary General Abioy, not everyone within the Concordat adheres to its official policies. A subtle ripple passed through the assembled counselors, a reaction that didn't escape the humans' notice. We request an emergency session of the full Concordat Council, Admiral Chen continued. We will present our evidence and our terms for peaceful resolution. We also request docking privileges for a diplomatic vessel. Our fleet will remain at its current position as a sign of our commitment to this matter. After the communication ended, the Council erupted into heated debate. Admiral Zoran raised his voice above the chaos. We must grant their request. Those ships survived transition through Sector 419's defensive minefield without triggering a single proximity detonator. Whatever technology they've developed, it's beyond our current understanding. You advocate appeasement, challenged Crix. I advocate survival, Zoran replied grimly. When the diplomatic shuttle docked at Central Station, it carried a 12-person delegation led by Secretary General Abioy, Admiral Chen, and Dr. Reyes. They were escorted to the Grand Council chamber, a space designed to accommodate representatives from all 23 member species, its architecture adapting to the diverse environmental needs of the varied life forms. For the first time in Concordat history, every member species had sent representatives on emergency notice. The chamber was filled to capacity, with floating translation devices ensuring all could understand the proceedings. The evidence presented by the human delegation was meticulous. Dr. Reyes displayed analysis of weapon signatures, fragments of technology recovered from Mars, and intercepted communications between what appeared to be a splinter faction within the Concordat. We do not hold the entire Concordat responsible, she concluded, but someone within your organization made a decision to attack a peaceful research outpost, resulting in the deaths of 300 civilians. We demand to know who and why. The chamber fell silent until a Vexari counselor named Thraz stood. I believe I can provide insight into this matter, he said, his voice heavy. There exists within our organization a group called the Preservers. For centuries, they have operated at the fringes of our authority, taking actions they deem necessary to protect the Concordat from potential threats. Are you suggesting a rogue element within your government conducted an unauthorized attack? Asked Secretary General Abioy. I am confirming it, Thraz replied. The evidence you've presented matches what some of us have suspected, but could not prove. The preservers viewed humanity's rapid advancement as an existential threat to Concordat stability. Admiral Zoran rose from his seat. High Council, I must add that intelligence reports indicate the preservers have established a significant military presence in the Corelli system. They have been diverting resources and personnel for decades. Just as the revelation began to sink in, alarms blared throughout the station. Defense Coordinator Sense's form swirled rapidly as they consulted a data feed. Multiple vessels have emerged from hyperspace. They're firing on both the station and the human fleet. On the main display, a new fleet appeared, ships bearing Concordat markings, but configured for combat in ways that violated multiple Concordat treaties. Their first salvo targeted the human diplomatic shuttle's docking bay, clearly intending to prevent the Earth delegation's escape. What followed astonished the Concordat observers. Rather than returning fire or retreating, the human fleet rapidly repositioned to form a protective barrier between the attackers and Central Station. Their vessels deployed previously concealed defense systems, energy shields far more advanced than anything the Concordat possessed. They're protecting us, Councillor Lyra of the Aquilon asked in disbelief. They're demonstrating their values, Admiral Zoran replied, understanding dawning in his eyes, even after suspecting us of attacking them. The Preserver fleet, clearly expecting either an alliance with the Concordat forces or a chaotic three-way battle, seemed momentarily confused by the humans' defensive posture. This hesitation gave Admiral Sorensen the opening she needed. Targeted EMP deployment on my mark, she ordered. Non-lethal options only. The human vessels released swarms of small, agile drones that penetrated the Preserver fleet's formation. Instead of conventional weapons, they detonated precisely calibrated electromagnetic pulses, temporarily disabling the Preserver ships without destroying them. Remarkable, breathed Admiral Zoran, watching the tactical display. They could have destroyed those vessels, but they chose incapacitation. In the council chamber, Secretary General Abioy addressed the stunned Concordat representatives. We came seeking justice, not vengeance. We will help you secure these rogue elements and establish a lasting peace, if you are willing to embrace honesty and equal partnership going forward. High Councillor Verax's form seemed to solidify further as he made the most consequential decision in Concordat history. The Concordat accepts your offer, people of Earth, and we humbly acknowledge that we have much to learn from humanity. The conflict with the Preservers lasted less than a standard day. With their ships disabled by human technology and their hidden bases revealed by Concordat intelligence, the rogue faction surrendered. Their leaders, including Commander Grax, were taken into custody to face justice for both the Mars attack and their assault on Central Station. In the aftermath, a new treaty was drafted, one that would fundamentally transform the Galactic Concordat. For the first time in its history, the Alliance would integrate a species that hadn't been carefully observed and gradually introduced to galactic society over decades. The Human Integration Treaty represents a new chapter for the Concordat, announced High Councillor Verax at the formal signing ceremony 3 weeks later. One that acknowledges the unique strengths that diversity of thought and approach bring to our community. Dr. Elena Reyes, now appointed as Earth's first permanent ambassador to the Concordat, signed on behalf of humanity. Earth comes to this alliance with open minds and open hearts, she said. We bring our innovation, our adaptability, and yes, our inability to accept limitations that others might take for granted. Admiral Zoran, who had been promoted to Concordat Defense Coordinator following his accurate assessment of human capabilities, added, the incident with the Preservers revealed vulnerabilities in our systems that centuries of peace had hidden from us. Humanity's perspective has already strengthened the Concordat in ways we couldn't have imagined. The ceremony concluded with the docking of a new vessel at Central Station, the EDS Unity, a hybrid ship designed through human Concordat collaboration. Its revolutionary propulsion system, developed by integrating human theoretical approaches with Concordat engineering expertise, promised to open new regions of the galaxy for exploration. As the delegations dispersed, Admiral Chen found himself walking alongside Admiral Zoran through the station's observation deck. "Your species continues to surprise us," Zoran admitted. "When we first observed Earth, many believed your divisions would prevent you from ever achieving true unity. Yet when threatened, you set aside differences that seemed irreconcilable." Chen smiled slightly. "Humans are paradoxical that way. We fight among ourselves constantly, until someone else threatens one of us. Then we remember we're all human first." "A formidable trait," Zoran observed. "One that served the Concordat well today," Chen replied. "Though I admit, ordering our fleet to protect the very station we came to confront wasn't in our original mission parameters." "Then why did you do it?" Chen stopped to gaze out at the stars, at the combined human and Concordat vessels now patrolling together. "Because humanity doesn't just want to survive in this galaxy, Admiral. We want to belong in it. And that means standing for principles larger than ourselves." As they watched, the EDS Unity detached from its docking port, its revolutionary engines glowing with an energy signature never before seen in Concordat space, the first visible symbol of what human and alien cooperation could achieve. "The preservers feared what humanity might become," Zoran said quietly. "I now fear what we might have remained without you." The Unity accelerated smoothly, then disappeared in a flash of light, faster and more efficiently than any ship in Concordat history, carrying a mixed human-alien crew toward distant stars that suddenly seemed much closer. The galaxy would never be the same again. The age of careful, measured expansion was over. The age of human innovation had begun.